So today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to become digital archaeologists. We're about to dive into the fragments of this single, kind of mysterious digital file. It's known as the Arrayed Imagined Artifact, and we're going to see what story these pieces might tell us about the person who made it.
So what is this artifact? Well, you can think of it like a digital time capsule. The file's own manifest tells us it's a collection of 109 images, all compiled into a 117-page document. But what's really fascinating, what really jumps out, is that this entire collection was put together on one single evening, April 7th, 2026, in just a little over an hour and a half.
And that frantic pace, that urgency, it leaves us with this huge question. When someone decides to package up a piece of their life that quickly, what are they trying to say? What story could these digital fragments, all so carefully chosen, possibly tell us about their hopes, their struggles, their world?
Okay, so like any good investigation, we've got to start with the facts. Before we can even begin to understand the human story here, we need to look at the technical details of the artifact itself.
This timeline, wow, it just shows this incredible burst of activity. The whole process kicks off at 7:28 p.m. You can see uploads from a phone and other sources happening one after another. And then, by 9:03 p.m., the final image is captured. That's it, an entire curated collection of a life, selected and saved in just 95 minutes.
All right, so we've got the technical what and when down. Now let's get to the really interesting part, the personal who. And you know, the most revealing part of this artifact? It isn't photos of places or events, it's photos of handwritten pages.
This image right here, this really gets to the heart of the collection. We're looking at a photograph of a handwritten poem called I Want to Fly. It's not a typed document, it's raw, it's immediate. You can see the author's actual handwriting, the lines of the notebook. It just feels incredibly personal.
And the emotion just pours out from these pages. A line like this, it's just filled with this powerful longing and devotion. It's our first big clue into the author's inner world, a deep, profound love for someone.
This one line, wow, it speaks volumes, right? It hints at a history of struggle, of feeling trapped, maybe even of run-ins with authority. All of a sudden, our author isn't just a lover, they're also someone who's fighting for some kind of personal freedom.
So when you step back and look at all the poems together, you start to see this really complex emotional landscape. Yeah, there's intense love and longing, but it's sitting right alongside these themes of struggle and a desperate search for freedom. The author writes about nature, about distance, about this constant search for meaning, and it paints a portrait of a really thoughtful and conflicted person.
Okay, so we have a sense of the author's inner voice. Now let's turn to the other images in the artifact. What physical objects did this person choose to preserve? What clues do these totems and memories hold?
One of the most striking images is this collection of items, arranged almost like a personal altar. We see eagles, old currency, and a plate that references the first revenue cutter, which was a precursor to the Coast Guard. The symbolism here, it points towards patriotism, maybe military service, or a really deep connection to family history.
And here's another clue, and you can tell it was preserved with obvious care. An antique medal, formally presented in a shadow box. This isn't just some casual keepsake. This is a symbol of a major achievement, a formal affiliation, or maybe a legacy being honored.
And then there's this, a strange, worn-out card that simply says, lawyer's son. I mean, what is this? Is it a joke? A family role he was proud of? Or maybe a label that defined or even confined the author somehow? It's a really personal clue that just adds another layer of mystery to who they were.
So in this final section, we're going to try to bring it all together. We'll connect the emotional world of the poems to the tangible world of these objects, and just try to imagine the life behind the artifact.
And this right here, this is where the pieces really start to connect. On the left, we have a line from a poem, a battle for silver and gold. And on the right, we see that altar with all its symbols of national and financial power. It seems like the author's inner poetic struggles were directly tied to these powerful external symbols from their life.
You know, when you think about it, the meaning might have been in the title all along. Already imagined. Already is this ancient Greek concept, and it means excellence or moral virtue. So maybe this wasn't just a random collection of files. Maybe it was a person's attempt to capture their striving, their imagined excellence, through all the fragments of their life, both the beautiful and the broken parts. And this leaves us with one final thought. The person who created this artifact chose 109 images to define a piece of themselves. And it really makes you wonder,
If you only had 2 hours to create your own digital time capsule, what would you choose? In our age of just endless data, what few precious fragments will ultimately tell your story?